contract.
From NBC News in Washington, this is Meet the Press with David Gregory.
Our issues this Sunday. The president calls it the most dangerous place in the world. The front line in the war on terror is now the rugged frontier lands of Afghanistan and Pakistan. It's where al-Qaeda terrorists and the Taliban have come back with a vengeance in the years after 9/11, and where the White House has decided to surge more than 20,000 additional U.S. troops. This week, an unprecedented White House summit with the region's leaders, and a warning.
The security of Pakistan, Afghanistan, and the United States are linked.
Is it America's war or their war? And is it winnable? With us exclusively this morning, President Asif Ali Zardari of Pakistan and President Hamid Karzai of Afghanistan. Then insights and analysis on why these two countries now represent the most pressing national security challenge to the Obama White House. With us, Steve Call of the New Yorker magazine, former longtime foreign correspondent and senior editor of the Washington Post, and author of the best-selling book Ghost Wars, about Osama bin Laden and the U.S. engagement with Afghanistan. And Andrea Mitchell, chief foreign affairs correspondent of NBC News. But first, the presidents of Pakistan and Afghanistan. I sat down with both leaders earlier this week after their White House meetings. Pakistan's President Zardari, in office for the last 8 months, is the widower of slain Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto. I began by asking about the Taliban and whether he agrees with the Obama administration that the group represents an existential threat to his country.
No, I consider the philosophy of Taliban as a threat to the world. Not just to Pakistan and your country, but I feel it's a larger threat.
An existential threat to Pakistan?
Pakistan, the whole world. And they start from the Horn of Africa and come down all the way to Pakistan. They don't evolve from Pakistan and go up. They come down.
Do you consider the Taliban to be a bigger threat today than India?
I consider it's a different... India is a country and Pakistan is a state. We're two states which... In fact, Pakistan stemmed out of the subcontinent, out of India. So it's a different relationship. It's a different context.
Is there a war with the Taliban inside Pakistan?
There is a war, sir.
And is it America's war or Pakistan's war?
It's a war of our existence. We've been fighting this war much before they attacked 9/11. They're kind of a cancer created by both of us, Pakistan and America and the world. We got together, we created this cancer to fight the superpower. And then we went away, rather you went away, without finding a cure for it. And now we've both come together to find a cure for it, and we're looking for one.
When you speak like that, it doesn't sound as if you consider it Pakistan's war, you consider it America's responsibility.
No, I think it's a joint responsibility. I think it's a joint responsibility of all the democracies of the world. That's why we made this Friends of Democratic Pakistan, so we can bring more strength to the situation. You've got to admit that you all have been trying to battle it for the last 8 years. The world powers have been trying to battle it for the last 8 years in Afghanistan, and nobody's come out a victor as yet.
And so you say there is a commitment on the part of Pakistan to fight the Taliban now. How many troops, how many Pakistani troops do you now have in the western part of your country battling the Taliban?
3 times the amount of troops you have battling them in Afghanistan. That's 125,000 we have on ground.
And yet the administration, you have a military force of roughly 650,000 men. Has the administration said to you there should be more fighting men in the West?
There is a point of view that more men might improve the situation, but that's something it's still disputed by our military analysts. We don't think that more presence of more troops there. You must remember 650 personnel strong army doesn't mean they're all infantry. That's the fighting brigade, is the infantry. That's the teeth of the army. So they're not all infantry. They're tank drivers, they're truck drivers, they're other gunners, etc., etc. So we have an infantry of 250,000, out of which 125,000 happens to be in those mountains.
So you have a sufficient number of troops fighting the Taliban?
We think they're sufficient.
You appeared on Capitol Hill this week, and the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Representative Howard Berman, said this. Speaking of you, he said he did not present a coherent strategy for the defeat of this insurgency. I had a sense of what they're doing today, he said. I did not have a sense of what they plan to do tomorrow. What's the strategy?
So, well, he didn't even ask me, so it's okay. But I'll tell you what I plan to do. We've been lobbying in America. My wife was lobbying. And we were of the view, and always have been of the view, that democracy is the answer to the problem. It may like somebody said, it may not be the best form of government, but it's the only form of government. Now, we've got democracy. Democracy needs help, and needs a little more help than we've been getting in the past. What the American public and people at large do not understand is for 10 years you have given $10 billion to a dictator, but you've given them for the war in these mountains. So it's actually reimbursement for the money spent. After all, 125,000 troops moving in logistically, otherwise do cost. So you've been paying back the government of Pakistan for the expenses occurred as such. But we need to support democracy, we need to support the country, we need to support the systems. And we've been in war for the last 30 years. It's not 10 years.
But is that a strategy for cracking down on a Taliban insurgency?
Sure it is. Sure it is. The stronger my institutions are, the more the youth I employ, the less fodder they have. The more poverty goes down, the less fodder they have to recruit from. That's the strategy. What else? There is no scientific theorem to that. And if there was one, if you had a strategy, you would have done it in 10 years.
But there's a military question, which is Pakistan capable of dealing with an insurgency, capable of mounting an effective counterinsurgency when the orientation of your military has primarily been to fight a big enemy to the east in India, predicated on the idea of some kind of deterrence? Are you able to mount a counterinsurgency strategy at this point?
Sir, we've been in this war for the last 7 years. But if you see the record of the 1 year that the democratic government of Pakistan, the PPP government and its allies has been there, we've done more to damage the infrastructure of the Taliban or these miscreants, whatever you need to call them, than ever before.
And yet, there are some who say that the strategy has not borne fruit. You went in, so people understand, you went into an area north of Islamabad, the Swat Valley, and you essentially made a deal with the Taliban, which is they would put down their arms if Islamic law could be applied, could be implemented there.
Incorrect.
Incorrect. Tell me what's correct.
The correct position is that we came up with a formula which was that there will be speedy justice there, known as Nizam-e-Adl, nothing to do with Sharia law. It's been interpreted by as Sharia law by them. And then that didn't work. But we had to get the population to be with us. The population was fed up of them and was fed up of the fighting. The provincial government came up with this idea that let's go for a peace deal and let's get the people involved. They tried. It hasn't worked.
But when you made this deal, when you actually signed this deal...
The parliament signed on this deal. The parliament recommended me to me.
Were you against it?
Yes, I had a position against it.
Why? Why did you think it was misguided?
I thought that it won't work.
Did you think it was abdication to the Taliban?
No, it's not abdication. I thought that the Talibans are not rational people. I don't think there is any good Talibans. The world does. So that's a difference of opinion.
But so you think there's no negotiating with them?
I don't think there should be a negotiating with them at the moment. Maybe one day when there is enough, we've done enough, then always, there cannot only be war. There has to be the parliament has come up with a strategy which is a 3D: dialogue, deterrence and development. So we have to go into dialogue by the will of the people, which we did. It didn't work. Now we've got into the deterrence phase where we are fighting. And then once we've calm the situation down enough, then we'll go into the development stage, to give them the ownership, give them schools.
You have the fighting that's going on in Swat, you have the Taliban insurgency there. That insurgency has also spread into Punjab,
to the state of Punjab. I don't have to tell you that's where half Pakistan's population is. And it has led to some dire assessments by analysts who look at your country with a critical eye, including a former advisor to General David Petraeus, who helped him with the insurgency in Iraq. And he said this: we're now reaching the point where within 1 to 6 months we could see the collapse of the Pakistani state because the Taliban insurgency has so destabilized Pakistan. Does he have that right?
I think he's had other positions wrong before. So, and having said that, we have a threat, yes. Is the state of Pakistan going to collapse? No. We are 180 million people. Their population is much more than the insurgents are, but we do have a problem. We have a problem because it's been there. It was, like I said, it was a monster created by all of us. We got together and we forgot to make a cure for it.
Can you survive politically?
Of course.
Is it possible to defeat this insurgency without U.S. soldiers fighting by your side, or at least training your soldiers in Pakistan?
I think we need to find a strategy where the world gets together against this threat, because it's not Pakistan specific, it's not Afghanistan specific. Like I said, it's all the way from the Horn of Africa. You've had attacks in Spain, you've had attacks in Britain, you've had attacks in America, you've had attacks in Africa, Saudi Arabia. So I think the world needs to understand that this is the new challenge of the 21st century, and this is the new war, and we've all got together.
The question a lot of people ask is Pakistan really committed to that war? In the New York Times, Dexter Filkins, who's reported from Afghanistan and Pakistan, writes this: whose side is Pakistan really on? Little in Pakistan is what it appears. For years, the survival of Pakistan's military and civilian leaders has depended on a double game, assuring the United States that they were vigorously repressing Islamic militants, and in some cases actually doing so, while simultaneously tolerating and assisting the same militants. From the anti-Soviet fighters of the 1980s and the Taliban of the 1990s to the homegrown militants of today, Pakistan's leaders have been both public enemies and private friends. When the game works, it reaps great rewards, billions in aid to boost the Pakistani economy and military, and Islamist proxies to extend the government's reach into Afghanistan and India.
I think it's an old concept and an old theory that he's talking about. And what billions are you talking about? Like I said, $1 billion a year? That's not even altogether. This aid package is not even 1/10 of what you gave AIG. So let's face it, we need in fact much more help. We are a responsible state. We brought democracy back. It's a young democracy, accepted. It was not me who was aiding the dictators of the past.
Is there a view, however, in Pakistan that the Taliban should be kept around for a rainy day, as it's been said, as a bulwark against Indian influence in neighboring Afghanistan?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
You don't think that was part of the past at all?
I think it was part of your past and our past, and the ISI and the CIA created them together. And I can find you 10 books and 10 philosophers and 10 write-ups on that, what all you didn't do.
Fair argument, certainly. A lot of people would agree with you. But did the game change after 9/11 to a point where the U.S. decided to root out this threat and Pakistan was straddling both sides?
You tell me. I was in prison by the same dictator you were supporting. You were supporting a dictator.
You're speaking of General Musharraf.
Yeah, I'm speaking of General Musharraf. In fact, I lost my wife on his watch, and I spent 5 years in his prison.
But Mr. President, you know well that there is a widespread belief that your military and your intelligence services still have these same sympathies for the Taliban.
I wouldn't agree with you. I think General Musharraf may have had a mindset that to run with the hare and hunt with the hound, but certainly not on our watch. We don't have that thought process at all.
Let me ask you about Pakistan's nuclear arsenal. There's been a question about the security of that arsenal. You've assured the world that those nuclear weapons are secure. But I wonder why you're continuing to add to your stockpile, add to your arsenal at what is described as a pretty fast rate when there's so much instability in the country.
That's not a fact. It's a position that some people have taken. We're not adding to our stockpiles as such. Why do we need more?
So you're not adding to your nuclear arsenal at all?
I don't think so, no.
You don't? Do you know?
Even if I did, I wasn't going to tell you.
there is a view that in the intelligence community in this country that it does not know where all the nuclear weapons are within Pakistan. Why not share that information so there could be a joint strategy to keep those weapons secure?
Why don't you do the same with other countries yourself? I think it's a sovereignty issue, and we have a right to our own sovereignty. It's a sovereign country.
Who's in control of Pakistan, you or the military?
I think the military is in control of their hemisphere, and I'm in control of the whole country.
Can they overrule you?
No, I can overrule them.
Haven't they overruled you in the past?
No, we've gone to their position and they've come to our positions.
But you still have final say.
The parliament has final say. It's the parliamentary form of government, and I am a product of the parliament.
But why is it when you wanted your intelligence chief to go to Mumbai, you were overruled by your military?
No, it was not overruled by the military. They thought it was too soon. And eventually we've offered for the intelligence chief to meet.
There's a lot of discussion about additional aid, as you've been talking about throughout our conversation, for Pakistan, $1.5 billion for 5 years, a total of $7.5 billion. But as you know, there's discussion about putting some strings, some limits on that aid based on performance by Pakistan. Do you disagree with that policy?
I think it's doubting an ally before you go into action together. If we are allies and we understand, it's an accepted position that we cannot work this problem out unless Pakistan, Afghanistan and America are on the same page. How do you go and taking an ally along by saying, okay, I don't trust you from the first day? It's not a good position to be in. So I feel that we shouldn't have any kind of conditionalities. We should have a result-oriented relationship where I should be given a timeline and I'll give you all a timeline. So we can both give each other timelines and meet the timelines on the positive.
In terms of U.S.-Pakistani cooperation, there are drones that fire missiles and target Taliban and other extremist Al-Qaeda figures within Pakistan. Do you consider those to be effective?
I would consider them to be very effective if they were part of my arsenal. I've been asking for them, but I haven't got a positive answer as yet. But I'm not giving up.
Where is Osama bin Laden?
You all have been there for 8 years, you tell me. You lost him in Tora Bora, I didn't. I was in prison. In fact, my wife warned America about Osama bin Laden in '89. She rang up Senior Bush and asked of him, are you destabilizing my government? Because he paid the then opposition $10 million to overthrow for the first woman elected in an Islamic country. So we knew that he was your operator. And
so you're not actively looking for him?
I think the world is looking for him, and we are part of the world's lookout brigade.
Do you think he's alive or dead?
I've said before that I don't think he's alive.
And you believe that?
I have a strong feeling, and I have some reason to believe that, because I've asked my counterparts in the American intelligence agencies, and they haven't heard of him since 7 years.
Mr. President, thank you very much for your views, and good luck with your work.
Thank you, sir.
Coming next, 7 years after 9/11, and the war rages on with the insurgent Taliban still controlling parts of Afghanistan. Can the government regain control? And the tough issue of civilian casualties due to U.S. airstrikes. Some harsh words from President Hamid Karzai. Our exclusive interview from earlier this week is next.
Meet the Press is brought to you by GE, Imagination at Work, and by the Boeing Company.
We know why we're here. To redefine air travel for a new generation.
To ensure our forces are safer and stronger.
To take the world we share to tomorrow and beyond.
Around the globe, the people of Boeing are working together to make a difference.
That's why we're here.
guys actually walk the walk when it comes to communications technology?
Absolutely. I think you can save both a lot of money, but a lot of people's time if you choose the right technology for the right place. And we think we save tens of millions of pounds a year.
Wow, that's a big number.
It's a very big number. So if you can do something that's good for the company and good for your shareholders at the same time, then it's pretty much a no-brainer.
Afghanistan's President Hamid Karzai, after this brief commercial break.
In a changing world, who do you want by your side? A financial advisor who knows you. An advisor who understands you. An advisor who has weathered the changing world right beside you. The world changes. Our commitment to you doesn't. That's the financial relationship we call you and us, UBS.
She wants to make up. We decided to turn in early.
We just know.
Finding the moment that's right for you both can take some time. That's why Cialis gives men with erectile dysfunction options. 36-hour Cialis or Cialis for daily use. Cialis for daily use is a clinically proven low-dose tablet you take every day, so you can be ready anytime the moment is right.
Tell your doctor about your medical condition and all medications, and ask if you're healthy enough for sexual activity. Don't take Cialis if you take nitrates for chest pain, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Don't drink alcohol in excess with Cialis. Side effects may include headache, upset stomach, delayed backache, or muscle ache. To avoid long-term injury, seek immediate medical help for an erection lasting more than 4 hours. If you have any sudden decrease or loss in hearing or vision, stop taking Cialis and call your doctor right away.
Cialis for daily use or 36-hour Cialis. Ask your doctor if Cialis is right for you, so when the moment is right, you can be ready.
Mr. President, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Happy to be here.
President Obama talked about the deterioration in Afghanistan during a speech back in March. This is what he said.
The situation is increasingly perilous. It's been more than 7 years since the Taliban was removed from power, yet war rages on. Insurgents control parts of Afghanistan and Pakistan. Attacks against our troops, our NATO allies, and the Afghan government have risen steadily. And most painfully, 2008 was the deadliest year of the war for American forces.
So here we are 7 years after the attacks of September 11th, 2001. Another American president is committing troops to Afghanistan, 21,000 additional troops. By the summer, there'll be 68,000 U.S. troops. My question, is it too little, too late?
Well, a very important question indeed. When we began in 2001 with the arrival of the international community in Afghanistan, and the Afghan people and the international community joining hands, we together defeated the Taliban and the terrorists and Al-Qaeda in less than a month and a half. Subsequent to that, the Afghan people would, as we established the interim government, would come in large numbers, hundreds of them, to my office and ask for more international forces in the country, in their villages, in their towns, in their districts. That didn't happen at that time. So in that sense, the arrival of more forces is late. It should have happened then, 6 years ago, and we should have paid attention then 6 years ago to the sanctuaries, to the training grounds, to those financing the terrorists. It's a bit late, but as we all know, it's never too late for a good thing to do.
With 21,000 additional troops, there's a question of what can be gained. But the issue of civilian casualties as a result of U.S. airstrikes, how much damage does that do to the U.S. effort?
A lot of damage. This is something that I've been engaged with our allies for at least 6 years now.
And you talked to President Obama about it?
Oh, very, very much. For at least 6 years now, in different ways, in different forms. The Afghan people are allies of the United States. The Afghan people want this effort together to succeed. The Afghan people see that the presence of the international community in Afghanistan brings us plenty of good things. But Afghan people also want to have their children safe. Afghan people say we are fighting together with you, shoulder to shoulder against terrorism, that we are part of the struggle, that we are not, our homes, our villages are not places for terrorism, and that they should be safe. It's an important thing that America recognize that civilian casualties are the biggest concern in Afghanistan and a damage to the effort against terrorism.
When President Obama addressed the American people and announced more troops going to your country, he raised a very important question, which is what is America's purpose in Afghanistan? Dexter Filkins, veteran war correspondent, has covered Afghanistan and Pakistan thoroughly for the New York Times, writes in the current edition of the New Republic this, and he starts with a question. What can be won in Afghanistan? Driving around the country as I did recently, one is constantly overwhelmed by how little has been accomplished there. In December 2001, the country lay in ruins. Today, it is still pretty much the same place. Today, Taliban fighters move freely across the countryside, and in some places, they have set up a shadow government. After 8 years of neglect, the Afghanistan state is a weak and pathetic thing. Pretty strong words. Why is that the case?
Very wrong words.
Wrong. You say it's wrong.
Very wrong words. Pretty strong, wrong words. It isn't like that. In 2001, Afghanistan did not have a single kilometer of paved road. Today, Afghanistan has its ring road completed, nearly 3,000 kilometers and above. Today, we have many of the roads in the cities paved. Today, we have health services, which were only to about 9% of the Afghan population in 2002, reaching nearly 85% and over of the Afghan population. The Rural Development Program of Afghanistan goes to more than half of Afghanistan's 40,000 villages. In 2002, we had 4,000 students in Afghan universities and only 3 or 4 universities. Today, we have 75,000 students in Afghan universities, 14 public universities and many private universities. In 2002, the 4,000 students that we had were all boys, men. Today, nearly 40% are girls of the 75,000. Today, we have thousands of Afghans studying abroad, at least 1,000 each year in India and hundreds in Europe and America. We have experts return to Afghanistan. I met with them 3 months ago. The country is a lot better.
Back in 2003, this is what you said about the Taliban. They were the ones who provided safe haven to al-Qaeda. These are the people that threatened both Afghanistan and Pakistan. This is what you said back in June of 2003. I am not worried about the resurgence of the Taliban. The Taliban movement as a movement is finished and is gone. Were you wrong about that?
I was not wrong about that.
But they're back.
No, there's a difference. The Taliban as a movement is gone from ruling Afghanistan. They were the government in Afghanistan. In 2001, they were the government. Today, they are not the government. In 2002, they were threatening you. Today, they are not from Afghanistan. Yes, they are a threat in the form of the terrorism that they bring upon us, in the form of the violence that they bring upon us, not as an organized political force holding the government in Afghanistan.
Are they an existential threat to your leadership?
They are not an existential threat to Afghanistan's government. They are a threat to our efforts towards more security, more progress, more reconstruction, and a more peaceful life. That threat they definitely are, and especially in parts of the country that's strongly there, yes.
The new administration has a slightly different strategy for trying to deal with the Taliban. And it has to do with operations on a tactical level, similar to what was done in Iraq, to try to turn some of these, what might be called irreconcilables, and bring them into the American fold. This is how the president described it back in that March speech.
There is an uncompromising core of the Taliban. They must be met with force, and they must be defeated. But there are also those who've taken up arms because of coercion, or simply for a price. These Afghans must have the option to choose a different course. And that's why we will work with local leaders, the Afghan government, and international partners to have a reconciliation process in every province.
Now, you have called that reconciliation process unworkable. Why do you believe that?
No, I didn't call the reconciliation process unworkable. And by the way, I agree with President Obama's description of the elements of peacemaking with the Taliban. Those Taliban who have been driven out of the country by fear or coercion or intimidation by our forces or the international forces, or by whatever other circumstances that they found themselves compelled to leave the country and take guns against us, are the ones that we want to reconcile with. They are the sons of the soil, they must return. To be very precise, those of the Taliban who are part of Al-Qaeda or other terrorist networks, or those who are in the grip of, intelligence services, must not and cannot come to Afghanistan, because they will continue to bring violence and destruction and damage to Afghanistan. But those who have been driven out of fear or the other circumstances that I described earlier are welcome. They're the sons of our soil, they're from our country, and we want to reconcile with them. And that's what President Obama was referring to. What I was objecting to was the international forces directly engaging at local level with the Taliban commanders for reconciliation. That is the job of the Afghan government.
Speaking about the Taliban and the defeat of the Taliban and Al-Qaeda generally, do you have more confidence today in Pakistan's commitment to fighting and defeating the Taliban than you did under General Musharraf?
Definitely more, yes. Definitely there is a recognition in the Pakistani leadership, in the democratically elected leadership. They see very much the same way things as we see. Therefore, we have a lot more confidence there. We had a very good meeting in Washington. I hope that this will be taken into further steps, meaning implementation on the ground. I'm a lot more confident and a lot more hopeful.
You are running for re-election, and as you campaign, you've had some pretty pointed messages. You're critical of the United States for civilian casualties as a result of U.S. air raids. You also were at a rally recently during which you were very clear, and you said, look, I have made certain demands of the Americans, and if they do not provide additional aircraft, for instance, I'll go somewhere else and I'll get it. You appeared to threaten the administration, and I wonder whether your core political message is an anti-American message.
It is not. It is very much a pro-American message. So the Afghans do want this relationship with America to continue. But of course, Afghanistan has a character of its own and an interest of its own, and a demand upon our allies as well. We are your front line in the war on terrorism. The Afghan people have given everything on a daily basis in the war on terrorism. We have our police dying every day, at least 5 or 6 of them. Our security forces, our army, our people. Our villages are not where the terrorists are. And that's what we kept telling the U.S. administration, that the war on terrorism is not in the Afghan villages, not in the Afghan homes. Respect that. Civilian casualties are undermining support in the Afghan people for the war on terrorism and for the relations with America. How can you expect a people who keep losing their children to remain friendly? And that's a moral question as well. We have to be morally on a much higher platform in order for us to win the war on terrorism.
And do you worry that the U.S. has not met that standard?
The U.S.
Have they not met their own moral standard?
The U.S. has not met that standard in Afghanistan. The United States must stand on a much higher moral platform in order for us together to win this war.
Let me be clear about what you're saying. Are you suggesting that the United States is waging an immoral war in Afghanistan?
No, it's not immoral war. It's the standard of morality that we are seeking, which is also one that is being desired and spoken about in America. In other words, are we the same as the terrorists? Are we the same as the bad guys? Or are we standing on a much higher moral platform? Are we better human beings or not? We must definitely be better human beings in order for us to tell the people that, look, those guys are wrong and we are better. And we must show that in our practice. And that practice should be extreme care for civilians and their children and their homes. And for the civilians to see us completely distinct and separate from the terrorists. So we have to be better. My moral platform has to be a lot higher, a lot more distinct and likable than the terrorists, than the bad guys. That's what separates us. Otherwise, there will be no difference. So why should the people care about us and not care about them? Do you get my point?
And yet, Secretary of Defense Gates has made the point that there has to be sustained commitment on the part of the Afghan people and the Afghan government. He says this: it's absolutely critical that the Afghans believe that this is their war. It is their war against people who are trying to overthrow their government that they democratically elected. Do you think that's the view of your people?
That is absolutely the view of our people, and that's why our people, even when they are bombed, even when they suffer, they still come to us. They receive me in their midst when I go to offer my condolences. They receive the American soldiers. They receive the American officers when an incident like that. In Farah, there was an incident of massive civilian casualties. And the U.S. military officials and the Afghan government went together to the population. That means the people are still with us. Had they been against us, they would have not received us, they would have not come to us. But then there is a limit to all of that. Any society will get fed up with continued violence and continued casualties. That's something very, very serious. And I have conveyed this to my friends in America in all humility and friendship on behalf of the Afghan people, that Afghans are a straightforward, honest allies believing in the cause that we have undertaken, and that's why we were able to defeat the Taliban and Al-Qaeda in less than a month and a half. And if we continue to behave the way we are, we will lose that. And that's a correct thing to do.
Before you go, just a couple of other issues. One of the big issues fueling the insurgency in Afghanistan is the poppy crop, opium. This is what you said on this program back in 2004.
This production of poppies supports terrorism. It criminalizes the economy. It undermines institution building in Afghanistan. Afghanistan will have to destroy it for the sake of the Afghan people and also because of the world. We will succeed because we have to succeed.
And yet today, 60% of Afghanistan's gross domestic product is poppy. It is opium. It accounts for 93% of the world's production of opium. That's not a very strong record.
It isn't like that today. When I was speaking, was it 2004? We had in 2005, we had only 3 provinces free of poppies in Afghanistan. Today, we have 22 provinces free of poppies in Afghanistan, either completely or mostly, to a bigger extent. Only 1 province in the country is producing poppies to the quantity that it can make 60% of Afghanistan's exports. So Afghanistan has made progress in reducing poppies in Afghanistan, in eradicating and in removing it from our agriculture. But the money that is spent to eradicate poppies and to provide it with alternative livelihoods is something that we have a question about with our allies.
Finally, this spring you signed a law that makes it legal for Afghan men to rape their wives. Now, you have said in the past month that you were reviewing that law. Are you going to repeal it?
It has been reviewed. When there's so much that I can talk about this law as to what is there. It is not exactly as is printed in parts of the world media. But when I heard of this, I called the Minister of Justice, and he told me that there were problems in this law, and that it will be, then I instructed the review and amendment of the law. I called in the clergy in the country, the senior most, who had a hand in drafting this law, and they agreed with us to have it amended and redrafted, and even parts of the law removed. I've already done that. The Minister of Justice was with me about 10 days ago to give me the amended law that will be sent to the Parliament. So it's something that we have to do, and we have to correct it regardless of whether
but just be clear then, how are you correcting it? What is permissible behavior?
It's not my choice. It has to go through a legal process and consultation and back to the Parliament. We are a democratic country. We have a Parliament that passes laws like that debates them, and that sends them back to the concerned.
But are basic human rights part of your democratic values?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So raping of women is a crime in Afghanistan and will be a crime?
Absolutely. A crime in Afghanistan because our religion is extremely difficult on that.
So this particular area, the ability to rape your wife is something that will be repealed. Are you saying that unequivocally?
It is not in the law. It's not in these very sharp words that are described in the Western media. Even if it is milder than that, it is wrong and it will be repealed, it will be removed, and the amendment will be made in this law. So the Afghan people don't want that, and the Afghan people are sensitive about it. I assure you that it's been done, and it's something that really embarrassed us when it came out. We are a lot more aware in nation, a lot more culturally good in nation than sometimes we are seen in the rest of the world.
So in democratic Afghanistan, it is illegal for a man to rape his wife?
Absolutely, like hell, sure.
All right. Mr. President, thank you very much. Good luck with your important work.
Thank you.
Coming next, some perspective and analysis on our interviews with President Zardari and Karzai. What now for the U.S.? NBC's chief foreign affairs correspondent, Andrea Mitchell, and the New Yorker's Steve Call, author of the Pulitzer Prize-winning book Ghost Wars, about the CIA's involvement in Afghanistan and Pakistan. After this brief station break.
I had a picture in my mind of next year, and it certainly didn't include getting up at 6 a.m. and going to work every day.
We've been through times like this before, but not just before I was about to retire.
By 2010, 30% of the data stored on the world's computers will be medical images.
The trouble is, all of that information is trapped.
X-rays aren't talking to...
Medical records aren't talking to...
Patient histories aren't talking to...
Insurance forms.
We're trying to connect all that data.
Make it smart. We would see the patterns in your medical history.
In the histories of entire populations.
Predict dangerous drug combinations.
We could tailor cures to your genetic code.
Put the focus back where it belongs, on the patient.
That's what I'm working on.
I'm an IBMer. Let's build a smarter planet.
Oil, energy, the environment. Where are the answers? This isn't a liberal or conservative issue. It's a human issue. As an energy company, Chevron has a great responsibility. So we've improved our own energy efficiency 27% since 1992. And now we ask you to join us in one of the most important efforts of our time. Using less. Will you join us? Chevron, human energy.
All this week, our special series, Women Making a Difference, changing lives by reaching out with helping hands and open hearts.
She's a really cool teacher.
Inspiring women of all ages from across the country on NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams.
Want more smiles for your dollar? With Kraft Mac and Cheese, you get 3 bowls for about $1. And that's a lot to smile about. Kraft Mac and Cheese. It's the cheesiest.
Sprinter Van Service. Sprinter Van Parts. Sprinter Van Body Shop. Stop everything. Sprinter Vans, $10,000 off. $10,000 off Sprinter Vans now.
Your best buy is at Timberline, or I'll eat my hat.
Join Oregon as she turns 150. Appreciate the past, celebrate the present, and imagine the future. Attend local events, volunteer, and get your Oregon 150 merchandise. Visit Oregon150.org, your one-stop shop for all things sesquicentennial. Happy birthday, Oregon.
We are back, and joining us now, Steve Call of The New Yorker and Andrea Mitchell of NBC News. Welcome to both of you. We've had a chance to watch those two interviews. And to frame this discussion a little bit, Doyle McManus in the Los